So the latest figures from StatsSA show that 7.9 million people are unemployed in the country, with official unemployment rates sitting at 34.5%. Car guards in malls or beaches are a common sight in South Africa. With high levels of crime and unemployment, this informal way of work and making a living has become the easiest way to earn a living for some people. We're joined now by Dr. John Foster, who wrote his PhD dissertation on this. Thank you very much for availing yourself this morning, Doc. What was the fascination in wanting to get a deeper understanding, and what were you looking for with this particular topic?
Morning, and thank you so much for this opportunity, and good morning to your listeners. My master's was also on car guards, and I felt, the reason I did it is I felt that there was such a need to better understand those in the informal sector who do not have the privilege of having contracts, having paid leave, and so forth. And I felt there was really a need for these people in for the informal sector individuals to have more of a voice. And that is my passion, the informal sector, and how to assist these amazing people.
Sure. What did you find out, especially in terms of some of their labor conditions? What are they faced with?
Well, the conditions, look, there are some agents that are really good. But unfortunately, a majority of agents who charge car guards a daily pay fee give very little, if anything, back to the car guards. So the car guards, as I said, have got no repercussion in terms of having any say. They do not get any paid leave. They do not work for the day. Well, obviously, they'd earn nothing. But not only that, they pay up to 50 Rand a day to be at the site. So in other words, they are earning tips based purely on individuals being kind enough to provide them those tips. Before they even earn tips, they have to pay daily pay fees between 5 Rand and up to 50 or even more. So there's no real protection for them. They are forced to work for it. And one car guard said to me, and it's so true, what industry in the world exists where you actually have to pay to work? And as I said, unfortunately, they have no repercussions in terms of medical aids or any protection, trade unions or any way to protect them. And therefore, of course, the situation is dire and usually, unfortunately, very unfair as well.
Let's go a few steps back. You speak of agents. Can we then call this an industry? Who regulates it? Who are these agents?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, we need to understand that car guarding started simply because of crime. So because of crime, people now have to have the cars protected, and there was obviously a niche. And some very smart people then realized, well, why don't we standardize it? SERA as well have been in the process for a while now, trying to standardize car guards, ensuring that they have a grade E level. The concern, of course, is the car guard agents are supposed to be standardizing the car guards and ensuring that the car guards are respectable, professional, and so forth, and therefore charge the car guards a daily fee. The concern, though, is that there's very little being given back to the car guards for that daily pay fee. And it's often very entrepreneurial individuals who realize there's a gap in the market here to standardize those car guards. But as I said, very little is being given back to the car guard.
There's a story of Mr. William Witboy and his estranged wife, Miss Maria. Tell us about them. On a rainy day, he saw his ex-wife doing this car guarding work, and she was tired. What then happened?
Fortunately, I couldn't answer on that because the article you're referring to was in the Sunday Times and written by Claire Keaton, and it was an interview that was done, I believe, in Cape Town. The studies that I have done for my PhD are based in Durban, but I've had similar scenarios of which I could tell you many very sad stories about car guards leaving many of them migrants, many of them leaving their families, coming to South Africa under dire consequences, trying to edge out a meager living.
Please do. Maybe a salient story that has stayed with you.
Sure. I think the saddest story was on Durban beachfront, speaking to a car guard who was telling me how his father had been killed, and he came into the home and found his father lying there, and he was then forced into a life of trying to earn a meager salary and not having papers or a qualification. The only option for him was car guarding. You often hear, and there's not many females that are car guards, often they are also forced out of the industry, if I can call it an industry, simply by other car guards that want their spot or want to earn earnings that they ladies that I'm referring to, the female car guards, are earning. Many sad stories in the article that you're referring to as well. One of the car guards was saying to me he wishes he could learn skill set to duck bullets in terms of watching people or managing people's cars, watching them, and then when criminals come, there's very little they can do, and they are now in harm's way. Yet they're still trying to get out an honest living, and that is something that we need to understand. Car guards are preferring, and this is so important, preferring to earn an honest living than turning to crime and trying to provide service to the community.
How then can they maybe get better organized in order to enjoy some protections? Is there a department, a government department, that needs to come in and formalize this kind of work instead of creating criminals out of people?
Absolutely. Well, StatsSA is, as I've said, in the process of trying to standardize car guards. The concern, of course, is that they would need to, the car guards would need to go on training, as well as pay a daily or a monthly fee or a subscription to StatsSA. And again, the situation then is who pays for this. Many community policing forums, communities such as in Kalk Bay and so on, have started to try and standardize and formulate car guarding in terms of getting them with the police, giving them tests, and trying to formalize car guards, and thus ensuring that they are not having to pay daily pay fees and also earning an honest living. And of course, sadly, yes, there is here and there the criminal aspect where someone can very easily put on or don on a vest and then pretend to be a car guard and be involved in crime. So the real aim then is to vet the car guards, and as is happening in many provinces and areas, the community should therefore be trying or be involved in formalizing those car guards and thus providing them the opportunity to earn an honest daily living.
I remember a story a couple of years ago. I was in someone's car, and as they were pulling out of the mall, they had a bag full of sweets in their cabbie hole, and they took a handful and they gave it to the car guard. While that is sweet, now we know that people pay fees of 50 Rand, and it would be better to maybe give people cash. What is it that some of the car guards told you in terms of just how generous or appreciative of their work South Africans are?
Tipping is actually very interesting in terms of the psychology behind it, because you're not forced or compelled to. So it really does say a lot about us South Africans and us being very generous in providing or giving car guards tips. Some people, of course, give very small tips. A lot of people give 2 or 3 Rand, 5 Rand, and also some people then rather just give them, they've gone to the restaurant, some food and so on. One thing that stuck with me is one car guard said to me, if people can't afford to pay me for looking after their car, at least just show me some respect and just say thank you, show me some gratitude. Sadly, some people will actually insult car guards and see them as a pure nuisance instead of realizing that these individuals are trying to earn a living, and at least if you cannot or do not want to give them a tip, at least just acknowledge them and say thank you. And a lot of the car guards feel that. They feel that, many of them are doing car guarding because they have fallen on hard times. And this is their last opportunity to earn meager earnings. And if we could just acknowledge them at least and appreciate what they are trying to do, it will make such a big difference to their lives.
Yeah, I guess maybe, you speak of people who are trying to earn an honest living, but then you also find a different dynamic to this, right? So you've also got people who are on drugs, some who are doing a great job, because you've seen some maybe at a busy intersection, playing, a traffic officer or something, and South Africans actually stop there. But then there are some who will give a sense of anxiety, and maybe that's why people don't want to open up their hearts and their pockets.
Absolutely. And of course, another study that I've done, which we publish shortly, is the scenario of when car guards are at a site where you actually pay to park. And you can imagine now when somebody is paying to park at a shopping center or a beach or wherever it is, and then there's a car guard there who's desperately trying to earn a living. And often in that scenario, of course, as we expected, people are less likely to pay them. And yes, as you've said, there is, of course, elements of crime involved as well, and there's drug addicts. And that's why it's so important that communities with the StatsSA start to get car guards and formalize them better, so that car guards, of course, can really perform and provide us such a valuable service, such as looking after our cars.
fair enough. Dr. John Foster is the co-author for the research he wrote, his PhD dissertation on car guards. Thank you.